Hello everyone, I'm Wendell Jones and welcome to this edition of the program Jones & Company. On this program we examine the national issues of the Bahamas. There is no doubt that healthcare has been in the news for a long time, and over the last several days we were able to look at the facilities of the Princess Margaret Hospital. Godfrey Ines went along with me and we had a wonderful tour of the Princess Margaret Hospital so that we can speak to the issues and say exactly what we have seen. And one of the persons who's been under the gun, so to speak, is the Minister of Health, Dr. Duane Sands. The physicians, the consultants at the hospital are seeking an increase in salary, better working conditions. Then there are challenges with the physical plant of the Princess Margaret Hospital. And so on our program today, it is our pleasure to have a conversation with the Minister of Health, the Honorable Dr. Duane Sands. It's good to see him again. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. It's a pleasure to be here, and I love the decoration. I mean, we're surrounded with, works of the masters,
Yes, well, thank you so very much. Godfrey Ines, good to see you again.
Yes, nice to be with the Minister.
Yes, and Minister, I need to thank the Deputy Chairman of the Hospitals Authority, Robert Carron, for arranging a little tour that we had of the hospital, and I was impressed in a way, but we have some concerns as well. And so for starters on the program, let's talk about what has been dominating the headlines for a little while. The consultants of the Princess Margaret Hospital, or the Hospitals Authority, they have been seeking an increase in salary. We've had them on this program. They have a whole lot of concerns. You used to be a consultant yourself, and so you are quite aware of what they are seeking. What is the government going to do to allay their fears and to remedy the situation?
So let me start, first of all, by thanking you for the privilege to be here today and to say that what you're watching at Princess Margaret Hospital and the Public Hospital Authority is the embodiment of transparency. We want people to know what's happening. We want them to see it, we want them to touch it, we want them to feel it. As it relates to the consultants, the CPSA, which is the Union of Consultant Physicians, was a body that was formed, started when I was a part. So I am a founding member of that organization. I am no longer a part of that organization, but I certainly understand the issues that that crystallized the movement. The primary concerns of the consultants are the conditions that lead to being unable to provide the best care for patients. And we have labored in conditions that are simply not up to first world standard. There was the promise of the brand new critical care block, for instance, ultimately brought online in 2014, but which, as a consequence of inadequate maintenance, has been plagued with serious challenges, particularly with the air conditioning system. And that has been a very vexing issue. The Consultant Physician Staff Association had a number of concerns segregated into non-economic issues and economic issues. All of the economic issues with the PHA have been agreed, all of them. Now comes the economic issues, and that includes stipends or salaries, on-call allowances, malpractice coverage, health insurance, etc. The position of the Ministry of Health, the position of the government of the Bahamas, and the Office of the Prime Minister is that we are going to be completely engaged to resolve this impasse or seeming impasse with the physicians, being mindful, of course, of the realities of the public purse. And so, yes, there's no question about it that the physicians, the nurses, the other health professionals do yeoman's work in our healthcare institutions. And while it would be wonderful if we could compensate them at first world rates, the likelihood is we're not going to be able to.
Good. But can you say that the government of the Bahamas is going to increase the salaries of these consultants in the short term. Can you say that these consultants can get medical insurance and a pension plan?
I believe, Mr. Jones, that we are minded to make some positive movement to accede to some of the demands. The issue will be that you need to be able to deliver on what is committed or what is promised. And it makes no sense making a promise that you have no way of financing. To give a for instance, there are many, many demands on the Public Hospital Authority. The budget in the 2018-2019 fiscal year apportioned to the PHA was $216 million. The request was for approximately $256 million. And so out of the gate, you're starting from a deficit position. And so as you increase services, as you increase demands on that fund, unless you have a corresponding increase in revenue, then no matter how well-intended you are, you're going to disappoint. And so when people start to say, well, why can't you provide this, and why can't you do that, and why can't, I may want to do so. But ultimately, somebody's got to provide the money. And so do I now go to the public and say, I need you to cough up an additional $5 million or $8 million in order to do this or that?
Yes, yes. And
so the principle of hardworking, committed, dedicated, primarily Bahamian consultants being compensated better, I think that's a no-brainer. The challenge now is figuring out how to do it. Because I could make the same argument for the Commissioner of Police and the Director of Public Works and the Principal Nursing Officer or the Director of Nursing and so on and so forth. All dedicated, hardworking public servants, most of whom, I could probably say all of whom, deserve improved compensation.
Yes, but can you just not tell the physicians that, listen, in the next budget cycle, the government of the Bahamas will increase your pay and give you health insurance?
Mr. Jones, when I speak for the government and
yes.
cabinet of the Bahamas.
Yes.
My utterance constrains the cabinet.
Right.
And so I have to be very circumspect in my utterances.
Right.
And so we are committed. The Prime Minister has engaged in conversation, in dialogue, to demonstrate that we are committed to resolve this problem. The full weight of the office of the Prime Minister has been brought to this matter. The full weight of the office of the Minister of Health and the Ministry of Health and the PHA and the Cabinet has been brought to resolve this issue. I believe that we're going to resolve this issue amicably. Now, how far down the road we get, I don't know, and it would certainly be irresponsible of me
to make a commitment.
To make a commitment at this point.
Minister, we live in a country which I think is too government-centric. We also live in a country which is not really transitioned from colonial systems to 21st century systems. And I think the hospital authority has been caught in that vice.
Clearly, not only the hospital authority, but the facilities, the design, the methodology, the culture. You have a facility that was built in 1952.
Yeah.
And we've painted and puttied it since that time, expecting it to function in 2018. And quite frankly, you can only drive a Model T so fast,
Yeah.
right?
But the next part of my question, Minister, is this. It isn't that the healthcare system is poor. We have a very wealthy healthcare system. But I don't think the government has been able, through the hospital authority, to capture that wealth. And that wealth is generated from the insurance industry of our country.
We lack the capacity to generate bills, to distribute bills, to collect revenue. A conservative estimate of the lost revenue would be on the order, well, on an annual basis, between $40 and $50 million per year.
In the hospital.
Now, in the aggregate, if you look at the total amount of money that we could have billed legitimately, that we haven't billed, the dollar amount would be staggering. And I don't think that that fantasy we should allow ourselves. I can say, however, that the existing accounts receivables recorded by the PHA is almost $1 billion, based entirely on the gazetted fees, which are nominal. I've said in previous fora that if you look at the visits to our emergency room, where you have the sickest patients, gunshot wounds, stab wounds, heart attacks, strokes, kidney failure, pneumonia, so on and so forth, motor vehicle collisions, we see 55,000 patients a year, and we collect on average $3 per patient. $3 per patient. Now, you may ask the question, what's the point of even trying to collect the money? Because it's costing you more to bill, to have staff, etc., to collect what is essentially a pittance. But what that translates into is an inability to provide maintenance contracts on very expensive equipment, to put in place an appropriate billing system with people that are able to code so that they can generate bills that are able to be vetted by an insurance company and then compensated.
You are the minister. You've been there now for 17 months. You have a system that is not working.
Outdated.
It is being fixed.
It is being fixed.
It is being fixed. As we speak, there are many things that are entrained. So when we look at the wins, and let's focus for a while at the Princess Margaret Hospital as a part of the PHA. Mm-hmm. What we have done is to bring back beds that had been put out to pasture, that had been taken out of commission. So you may have had an opportunity to see one of the brand new wards that's going to be coming back on stream within days. Yeah. That's the Corey Newbold ward, or what we used to call the male chest ward. I believe that as you walk onto that ward, you get a feeling that, hey, this is not Princess Margaret Hospital. This is someplace in Florida. Yeah. Okay? We are now redeveloping the children's ward with tremendous public-private partnerships, public-private partnerships, and the male surgical ward. So altogether, 70+ beds that had been taken out of commission. We have had, through a partnership with the obstetricians and gynecologists, redeveloped the labor ward. And so as we look at Princess Margaret Hospital, there is a desire, a plan to thoroughly redevelop it.
Yeah, but you can see the improvement in the physical plan. That is one thing. But you have a revenue problem. And you need to fix the revenue problems so that you can maintain your hospital, so that you can pay your salaries. The mode that you are using now is wrong. You need to collect money.
Yes.
You have policemen and teachers and others who are insured, who come to the hospital, and they are insured, but their insurance companies are not paying you. How are you going to fix that?
Yes, we are. But it's greater than that, because there are rules, there are policies that we created that said that if you're a civil servant, you don't pay. If you're a politician, you don't pay. If you're a doctor, you don't pay. If you're a nurse, you don't pay.
But now, if you have insurance, you should pay.
Hold on. These things were written before the people of the Bahamas started buying major medical insurance for all of these different groups of civil servants. And so what we want is to ensure that no one comes out of pocket, but the hospital and the medical staff can now send a bill to the insurance company, eliminate the copay, we'll cover the copay, so that the hospital now has the funds to provide a maintenance contract on the brand new CAT scanner that we're going to be installing, to provide a maintenance contract on the air conditioning system, to provide a maintenance contract on the new ultrasound machines, and for the training for our staff, whether that's in areas of hospitality, in areas of service, and so on and so forth. Conceptually, the idea is to take the model that exists, break it up,
yes,
and start over.
change it.
So what you're watching is a renaissance in health, and in a very transparent way. We have brought people into the conversation. It rips the scab off. People get emotive. They feel, they cry, they get upset, they get angry. I am the messenger. And so a lot of this the venom is directed at me. But I have pretty broad shoulders, you know.
Have you been able to get your staff to buy into what you're doing? I'm talking about the physicians who work there, the nurses, the technicians. Are they engaged in what you are seeking to do? Because
Some.
a whole lot of them are complaining about the things that we have complained about, that the public is complaining about. Do you have the esprit de corps in the hospital, and are people engaged as you would want them to be?
We are not yet there. Understand that many of these challenges have been there for years, more than a decade. And so you have persons that are now bruised, damaged, feel underappreciated, disrespected by the institution. They have seen promises come and go. They have seen politicians come and go. And the expectation is this Sands fella ain't no different than none of the rest, okay? He can come, he can give us a sweet story, and then when he either is voted out or he decides to leave, we're gonna be in the same position. The devil is a liar. Princess Margaret Hospital, the Public Hospital Authority, and the healthcare system of the Bahamas is going to be transformed. We have started the process. I have a board.
Is being transformed.
Is being transformed. I have a board of which I'm incredibly proud. I look at the chairman, young fella, Julian Roll, okay, in his 40s. I've got Robert Carron, the deputy chairman. I've got a number of bright Bahamians who have taken an approach that says business as usual doesn't take place anymore. And whereas they may have rubber-stamped decisions previously, it doesn't work that way anymore.
Minister, physicians, as you know, are only as good as their support staff. You're developing a very high-tech facility in Princess Margaret, and you're going to need world-class technicians to operate and to ensure that good medical analysis and diagnosis is done by the kind of machinery that you have, right? So you got to factor into your expenditure equation not only salaries for the doctors or advances for the doctors, but advances for the people who operate in those high-tech machines, right?
You know, if I didn't know better, I would have said that I paid you to cause us to segue into this particular area. You may know that there's significant controversy about the fact that there are a number of first-year medical students at UWI for whom the issue of financing has been raised as an issue. Mm-hmm. Historically, the government of the Bahamas had agreed to pay for up to 40 medical students per year. This year, there are 65 medical students that have presented themselves. Now, if it was only doctors, okay, we could say it's fine. But just like in football, you need a quarterback and a wide receiver and a couple of running backs and a fullback and so on and so forth. So if we are going to develop our healthcare system, and the human resources are most important, we need occupational therapists,
right,
and physical therapists and nurses and dentists and radiographers and ultrasonographers and so on and so forth. So any human resources plan mandates that you now have a holistic view of the team.
You can include them.
And so it cannot be only about doctors.
Yeah.
It has to be that if you train one doctor, then you might need, for every 3 doctors, you need an occupational therapist or a physical therapist, and you need a couple of dentists, and you need a whole bunch of nurses, and you need x-ray technicians and so on and so forth, and chemists and microbiologists and so on and so forth. Now you're talking about proper planning. So what we've done is we've retreated from the position that anybody who shows up and says, hey, I want a scholarship, and we're actually planning to have the human resources support of the government of the Bahamas match the need not just of New Providence, but of Grand Bahama, of Abaco, of Acklands, of Crooked Island, Big Warner. Salina Point needs to have health services.
Yeah, but if you have a brilliant...
Betsy Bay needs health services.
If you have a brilliant physician who wants to specialize, for instance, and you know that this person is brilliant and would be a fantastic neurosurgeon, why shouldn't the government of the Bahamas provide a scholarship to that person already in your system? And you know that that person has the potential to be...
The government of the Bahamas does, it has, and will continue to do so. However, the government of the Bahamas should give scholarships in order to meet the needs of the people of the Bahamas. So when Dwayne Sands comes up and says, hey, I want to be a pediatrician, and I just pulled that out of the air, okay? We look and say, well, we have 42 pediatricians now in country. The average age of those pediatricians is 42, but we need neurologists, we need orthopedic surgeons, we need anesthesiologists. Dr. Sands, we're not going to give you a scholarship to go and learn pediatrics, but we will pay your full ride to go and do anesthesia or something that is, and we are going to tie your services to the Bahamas, right, which is something that we stopped doing a number of years ago.
So that is being done.
It is being done, and we have paid, the people of the Bahamas have paid up to $1 million, Bahamian dollars, for people that have trained at the expense of the people of the Bahamas and then have left the country.
Your problems couldn't be sorted if we really had the proper introduction of national health insurance,
Come in, my brother. Now,
you need money.
The issue, this administration has committed to a viable national health insurance program. You've heard me say that we have been in the process of revamping NHI. And I don't wish to say much more other than stay tuned. In a few weeks, and I mean that by the Gregorian calendar, in a few weeks, you're going to hear more about NHI.
Okay. We got to take a break here. I think we should engage your Deputy Chairman, Mr. Robert Carron, as well.
Absolutely.
We take this break here on our program, and we'll come right back.